The reason why you clicked on this video might be because you are done with being afraid and you are annoyed of feeling the fear in you, and some way or the other you just want to make a change in your life. You just want to feel different. You want to feel like a person who is brave, who is not afraid of things that they were used to be afraid of. And I get you. Everybody goes through that phase. Everybody wants to just cut off, throw away fear out of their life. It is possible. Of course, you can do it, but only when you understand what is fear and why do we want to get rid of it so badly. Fear is something that everybody hates. There isn't even a single person who likes fear, who likes to be afraid of things. And one of the most annoying, one of the most creepiest, one of the most uncomfortable emotion that any human being can feel is fear. That is the reason why everybody wants to get rid of it. And we fear of fear. We are just afraid of being afraid of things. That shows how resistant and how bad our relationship is with fear. So when we talk about fear, I just want to share a short story. That is a very interesting story that I heard and that just shaped my perspective and gave me a broader and a very clear vision and an understanding of fear. So the story starts like this. There was a king, a very strong king who is undisputed, and the king always wins all the battles and the wars that he wages. So the neighboring countries and the neighboring kingdoms all were just jealous of this king, and they were like, no matter what we do, we are unable to defeat this king, because the king is very strong physically and mentally, and he has a great set of ministers. The ministry of the kingdom is great. So it was all going well, but the enemy countries actually planned something that was quite intelligent. What they did is they were aware of the fact that with soldiers, with war, with battles, you cannot defeat the king because he is very strong in those aspects. But why don't we try something else? But why don't we try a different way, different path this time? So what the enemy kingdom's kings did is that they invited a priest of the king's kingdom. So the priest is a person who is known to tell fortunes, and the priest is good at predicting the future. And in the king's kingdom, all the people believe in whatever the priest says, including the king himself, because the priest has always predicted how and what is the outcome of the wars that the kings and the kingdom wages. So they all are just blindly believing the priest. So the enemy king invited the priest, and he offered a huge amount of money to the priest. And what he told to the priest is, you just have to do one thing for me. You just have to spread a rumor about the king that the king is going to die in 10 days and by 10 p.m. You just have to say this to people. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to kill the king. Just spread this rumor. The priest was actually shocked and surprised, because he was very shocked, because to just spread a rumor, he got huge amount of money. So the priest was very happy. He went back to the kingdom. He went back and he just was so happy that he called a lot of people and he told he has got a message from God about the future of the king, but it is not a good news. It is a very bad news. So the priest told the people that he's going to tell what the news is by today evening, and he planned for a huge gathering. And in that gathering, the ministers were there, the people were there, everybody were there, but the king was not there. The king couldn't see the priest. The king was not there to hear the priest. So in that gathering, the priest was actually very, very worried. He looked very worried. What he said is, it is very unfortunate that our king is going to die in 10 days by 10 p.m. And all the people were just so, heartbroken. They were all so sad because they actually believed the priest. Whatever the priest said happens. That is what their belief is. And they were all, very worried that they are going to lose their king. Even the ministers were convinced that, okay, this is going to happen. This has to happen because the priest has got the message from God. And this message reaches the king. The first emotion that the king got as a response, that he felt as a response, is fear. The king was so afraid. The king was so afraid. The king, the person who was never afraid to go on wars, to wage wars, to get, to spread his kingdom and to fight people, to kill people. He was so brave, but all of a sudden, he is so frightened. He's so afraid. He actually thought that in 10 days he's going to die. He's going to die. So he was like, I don't know what to do. I'm so afraid. I'm so afraid. I can't accept this defeat because I have waged war on so many kingdoms. I have won so many battles, but in 10 days I'm going to die. How is that even possible? How is this even possible? And he was so afraid about his death. He couldn't accept the fact. And just by seeing the unsettlement of the king's mind, what the ministers planned is, okay, our king is really, really, upset, and of course he had to be. So what the ministers planned is, any which ways, if at all the king has to die, there might be a person who is going to kill the king. So what they formulated is, they are going to take the king and take him to a very safe place. So the king was also, okay, fine, I just want to live, I just want to survive, I don't want to die. So they took the king, they crossed 7 mountains, they crossed 7 seas, and they went far away, and there where nobody has reached, they took the king, and there were a set of soldiers and all the food that the king needs, all the protection that the king needs, everybody was there. So after going so far where nobody can reach, finally everybody were like, okay, now the king is safe. Our king is not going to die. But only one person was very afraid. It was the king. And because of the travel, because of everything, after 10 days, it was a long travel. So everybody were so tired. And that day was actually the 10th day after the priest has told the people that the king is going to die. So technically, according to what the priest said, today's 10 p.m. is the day the king is going to die. So everybody were so, upset and so awake. They were so vigilant. They were seeing if someone is coming in, someone is, there to kill the king. And the king was also very active. And, but the ministers were like, the king is afraid. We don't want our king to be afraid. So let's just lay a feast. We will have all the protection, but let the king have food. Our king is going to live. But the king was so afraid. But because of the travel, of course, he wants to eat. And even the king thought that if I'm going to die, let me have a feast. So the feast was laid. And what happened? The king was having his food. He was so afraid, but he was having his food. He was having meat, and there was a small sharp bone in that meat which he ate. That bone poke in his stomach or inside his digestive tract, and he choked. He died. Now who killed the king? Is that the priest? Is that the enemy kingdom's king? Or is that the meat bone? It's fear. If the king was not afraid, and if the king actually was brave, that no matter what happens, I'm going to live. How can someone defeat me? And there is no chance that I'm going to die. And he just stayed in his kingdom, which is the safest place for him to live. And he is not afraid. He is having his food patiently, calmly. He might not have died, but it was the fear that killed the king. Now think of yourself as kings or queens, and do you want the same ending to your life? Do you want to be, lost, and you want to get defeated in your life because of fear? I hope so not. And nobody wants to be afraid. Nobody wants to, get defeated by fear. We all want to live our lives to the fullest. We want to fight. We want to survive. We want to thrive. But somewhere in our heart, we are all afraid of something. Or maybe someone, maybe some incident. And I know that you are here to overcome that fear. So when we think of fear, I was, so shocked when I actually thought a lot about fear. I got just two basic reasons for fear. There is no other reason other than this. If you just think a lot and very deeply, you will just realize this. The fear exists in a human being only when one among these two reasons are present. So the first reason is, if the human feels whatever the person has planned might not happen, or something, that they have planned for so many years might not happen. So that invokes fear. And the second reason is, something unexpected might happen. First is when whatever I have planned might not happen, that invokes fear. The second is whatever, something unexpected, out of nowhere, out of blue happens. These two things invokes fear. But when we actually look at fear, and when we think of the solution of fear, when you treat this properly, when you are aware of this, when you are patient enough to spend some time with your own mind, you will come to a realization that you can actually, come out of these two reasons of fear. You can win fear, which in turn points that you will win yourself, you will win your life. So I came to a very weird realization that fear is only good for surviving. Actually, other than surviving, fear has nothing to do in our lives. When you look at an animal who wants to live, who wants to survive, who wants to protect itself, that animal might be very afraid when there is a predator, when there is an external threat. And when you look at that animal who is afraid, it is so fast. It does not think. It just wants to survive. It just wants to get out of that dangerous situation. So it does anything to just survive. So just survive. But we are humans. We are not just meant to survive. We are meant to live. We are meant to thrive. If you look around, you are not in the survival phase. Your survival is actually secure. For thousands of years, humans have been fighting with each other, but now survival is something that is common. We can survive. But are you willing to thrive? Are you willing to live your life the ways and in terms that you want to live? Are you doing it to yourself? And I was like, okay, do I want to remain in this survival instinct, survival mechanism, or do I want to rise above this? Of course, the answer was very clear. I want to rise above this survival instinct, survival mechanism. So I want to get rid of fear. So what do? I was like, I'll just sit down with my thoughts. I'll analyze my thoughts, and I'll just see what makes me afraid. And when I used a little bit of logic, a little bit of my human intellect, most of my fear just vanished. Because I was actually fearful and I was actually afraid of the things that happened in my past, and I was expecting that something similar might happen in the future. So that anticipation created fear. And I felt so stupid. I was like, something happened in the past has an impact in my present. With that, I'm living. And I'm going to recreate it in my future. Then I'm just a foolish person. I am a fool, of course. So, when we actually, want to get rid of fear, or when we want to just, cut off and throw away fear, we just, have to sit with our thoughts and analyze why are we afraid? What makes us afraid? And when you actually get into this analogy and when you get into this phase of formulating your thoughts, one thing is, going to just click in your mind. That is, anything that you're afraid of, anybody that you're afraid of, are all going to be dead in, let's say, 80 years, let's say 100 years. And you are going to be dead in, we don't know how many years. And the people who you feel, will judge you, and you're afraid because of that, you're not doing something because you're afraid that people might judge you, all those people will be dead. Even in 200 years, people might not even remember who you are. Like, even your family members, your closest ones will all be dead. And this world, this earth, will continue to exist. There will be new people, there will be new societies, there will be new cultures, there will be new rules, there will be new regulations, there will be new fears. But your fear, your life, is far gone. You are gone. Nobody is going to come and give back your life. Nobody is going to come and tell that, Shahid, okay, you lived your life with fear and you didn't do a lot of things and you were afraid of a lot of things and you were surviving in the survival mechanism. So let me give you 50 more years without fear, where you are not having the capacity or capability to even fear something. You just can live. Is that going to happen? No, that is impossible. That won't happen. You have got just one life. That is very personal to you. This life is yours. You are the only person who is going to experience this life, no matter who you are with, no matter how many people, how many friends you have. Of course, they will enhance this journey, they will make this journey memorable, but this is your experience. And fear will kill the experience. So you have to be aware, if fear is going to define your life, if fear is something that is going to define who you really are and what you're going to do in your life. Because at the end of the day, everybody is going to leave this earth. This earth will remain. This earth is going to exist. New people will come. New societies will thrive. And new kings will come. But do you want to be the king of that story that I just said? Or do you want to be a person who just live their life the way they want to? Because at the end of the day, the things that you take seriously are not that serious. It's just you who's giving so much attention to it and making it a very serious issue, but it is not as serious as you think it is. It is not supposed to be serious. I hope so that helps. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.